Alright, so I'm going to be building a tumbler, and I'll reveal why later on, but for the most part I'm going to be doing this myself, and I got a bunch of stuff to do so. First thing you're probably going to need is something like a bucket, with a lid preferably, so something like this. I got this clear one so you can see what's going down inside. You can see the media rolling around in there. And then I got a ton of miscellaneous hardware. All this stuff is going to vary, but for the most part, the only real important thing that you need is some of these wheels. That way, when you get them all set up, the bucket can roll on them like that. So, for the most part, I'm going to be building this as I go. I have no direction, no idea what I'm doing. I've got some wood, lots of miscellaneous hardware, a little bit of electronic stuff, and I'm going to try to make a tumbler that will help me complete a project that I got going on later on. So I've got a bunch of other stuff. Also, the most important thing that you're probably going to need is a motor. This is a window wiper motor. This is the rear one for the back of a Mazda RX-7. So, you know, any windshield wiper motor will do, which is the one I've got. Hopefully it works for me. If not, I'll have to go to the junkyard or something like that and pull a different one. But, so, windshield wiper motor, bucket, rollers, and make it all work together. Alright, stay tuned.
So it's not really a big secret at this point, but I'm making this tumbler so I can try to polish up the hardware that is on the BBS wheels that I got. Basically, I'm trying to not spend a ton of money, but you know, obviously if I can try to get these hardware cleaned up, then it's one less thing I've got to buy. Replacement hardware for the BBS wheels is like maybe $120, depending. Basically, I don't want to have to spend that kind of money on nuts and bolts, and especially if I can reuse the hardware. Some of it does look beyond repair, some flaking of the finish, but I'm hoping that that's not too bad. So we will see, and hopefully this thing works and treats me right.
Alright, so here's the completed product. Well, not completed yet. I still got to add the wiring in. I'm debating if I want to use my little breakout box there, which supplies about 10 amps at 12 volts, which will work pretty good for this motor. I think that's pretty much exactly what this motor is rated for. Or I might try to find its own independent power supply. So when that time comes, I'm going to hook up a little 12 volt switch somewhere around here. But yeah, I'm not the best woodworker at all. But I got some little feet on here to keep the noise down maybe a little bit. It's not the best woodworking probably YouTube has ever seen. So I've got my motor mounted up, a couple little brackets supported it right to some mounts on the motor itself. It's pretty much on there. I've got a little adapter. I'm going to revise this later on. I had no idea when I was buying this stuff the size of this spline. I thought it was going to be an M10, and ended up being much smaller. So I've got this kind of janky setup going on here, and then I've got the little casters up here to roll. The rod comes all the way through to the end where I've got it supported and stabilized up here, and then I'm going to add in some fins that on the inside of here that'll help the media tumble around as it goes. So anyways, that's pretty much all I've got for it now. I'll try to get a video of it in action once I get the media for it. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.
So one roadblock that I ran into when I was building this thing was that my wiper motor for the rear was kind of intermittent. Instead of doing a full revolution, when you turn on the motor and power it, it would just cycle back and forth. So the bucket wasn't doing a full rotation, it was just sweeping back and forth about 60, 70 degrees apart. And, you know, that's cool if you want to wipe a window, but it didn't exactly work for this application. So I ended up having to cut that motor down in size, and I ended up tapping the actual motor itself, not the gear mechanism, and putting the insert directly into that and utilizing that because that does a full revolution. And there's like a cam slash gear mechanism on the inside that was causing it to do the intermittent thing. So on the actual shaft, it was never doing a full revolution. That's just something that you need to look out for when you're building yours. If you do end up doing one of these, just make sure that you build it around the motor that's going to do a full revolution. You want this bucket to spin, not just rotate back and forth slightly. So, you know, keep that in mind. It was a slight hiccup for me. It meant I had to destroy my motor for good. But, you know, I wasn't going to use it anyways, so, yeah. So here it is, the final product. It's got some material in there and it's spinning around. You can see the casters that I put in there, but it's riding on. It's pretty sturdy. I'm definitely not a wood craftsman by any means, and you know, my woodwork is definitely kind of an abomination to say the least, but this thing does its job. I do need to get a more powerful power supply for this thing because it does trip the 10 amp fuse inside that power breakout box. But as you can see here, I had to definitely salvage my motor and cut it down. It ended up working out pretty good in the end anyways, but yeah. So here's the power breakup box. It's actually for a security camera system, power supply, but it definitely does the job a little bit. It's got a little on-off switch right there. Bracketry is pretty good, so it works pretty good. I'm happy.